Hi guys, I am back to film using the Natasha Denona collection. I did order it off her website. It did actually arrive really quickly, but I haven't gotten around to filming with it until now. It's like a really big L for me because initially I was like planning on filming with it pretty much the moment it arrived. So I have pretty much all the rest of my base makeup on plus bronzer, and I have eye primer on. So I'm going to do a full look using all the shades in this. And then I'm going to also demo the highlighter on my face, which it has a cute little kind of curved shape. And then the inside you can clearly see that there is kind of like a gradient situation going on. I like this better than the Pastel in terms of shade distribution because there were so many shades in the original large Pastel palette where too many shades look too close to each other. So this is really nice and condensed, but I have a hard time agreeing with it being called a pastel palette. But I would say if you are the kind of person where you don't like to wear pastels because it really washes you out, you may prefer going for shades like these. So I'm just going to create a look with these. There is only one matte, and it's the, it's the one that's the same color as the packaging. So whether you like that or not is going to be completely up to you. I do own several of her minis at this point in time, and I am quite fond of her minis, honestly. I feel like they're a really great way to just get something really condensed from her without having to break the bank. In particular, I think my favorite mini from her is the Mini Gold. So of course it's also the one that's kind of the hardest to track down because I believe it was limited edition. Excuse the sparkle on the inner corner. When I tap my brush into the pan, I accidentally tapped into the blue as well at the same time. I like missed. I did find her pastel palette to be a little bit more inconsistent compared to her usual kind of pedigree of mattes, but overall I still found it to be very enjoyable, and compared to something like Give Me Glow Pastel Dreams, it definitely was way better than that one was. So in a sea of pastel eye palettes where it seems that pastel eye palettes are kind of difficult to make good ones of, I would say the Natasha Denona one is probably one of the better candidates. The only other pastel palette I think is kind of also anywhere near as good would be the Menagerie one. But the color selection of that one is not that great. It's definitely very obviously a companion palette, and it also for some reason has a black and a white in it. The white I can kind of understand, but the black not really. So overall I don't actually have that many pastel palettes. I have the Menagerie one because I do really like Menagerie, and then the Sugar Pill Fun Size is cute, but that one barely qualifies for being pastel. So yeah, there's not really that many pastel palettes on the market. I've heard that Shroud's Creepy Cute is good, but I just do not want to deal with that kind of customer service right now. That shade went on really well, as you can see. This is why I feel like the creamy matte formula from Natasha Denona is kind of my favorite at the moment, and kind of has been for a really long time. It really works well if you have drier eyelids. It just lays on and blends out so easily. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and start working in these metallics. So I'm gonna start off with the icy blue that was in the middle. I'm just gonna see how well this picks up on a brush. I do find her metallics, sometimes I have mixed feelings about them because sometimes they're a little bit more subdued compared to what I would want. They, generally speaking, even if they are more subtle, they don't really usually ever have that like kind of cheap crumbly dry finish that I saw in Celestial Nirvana. What was it? Nirvana? It's kind of a little bit more on the sheer side, but it doesn't feel crumbly and it doesn't feel ashy either. And it does feel like it's kind of having a smoothing effect on my skin. But I will say, generally speaking, when she does metallics like this, it's kind of my least favorite just because it is kind of just blah in terms of shininess, which is a personal preference thing. I definitely have made it known before that I am a magpie, so the shinier the better. So I'm just gonna stick that there, leave room for an inner corner highlight if I want to. And I'm not sure, so this shade feels kind of random to me. I just don't really know where to place it because it reads so neutral. We'll see. Yeah. It just feels so neutral. I will say, looking at it from certain angles, I do pick up some blue shift, like blue reflect. There is blue sparkle in there. On its own, it is really pretty, but inside this quint, it feels a little bit, I don't know, kind of chaotic. This mini palette as a whole kind of feels a little bit like it wasn't laid out super thoughtfully. So I'm going to take the darker blue now, and I'm going to use that to keep acting like it has a mirror. I'm going to use this to add some depth. kind of fun because I'm kind of using the green as like a staging ground for the rest of the shadows. So by the time everything is done, the green probably is going to be barely visible, but it kind of laid the foundation for everything else. And I do like how from the front it has depth like a matte, but then when I turn my head to face the camera, it picks up in the light, but it's not looking ashy, nor does it have a dark cast that makes it look bad. That's another thing I do like about her shimmers. The darker shimmers that she makes don't have a weird dark ashy base to them, and they do blend out pretty well. As you can see, I didn't have many issues negotiating with that shade. And I'll just pack on a little bit more with my finger. Yeah, like I could end the look right here and it would look fine. Now just FYI, the prices of her minis did go up. It used to be $25, it is now $27. It's not like the worst increase we've seen. I know I remember seeing Too Faced raise their foundation prices by just an absolutely audacious amount. I do really like how these shadows are blending in with each other though, and I found even though it's super sparkly, it was very easy for me to manipulate where I wanted it, so those are all good things. Now I need to figure out where I want to place the pink. So initially I thought I would put it in the inner corner. It is quite frosty and it does have a lot of reflect, so I think I'm going to keep with that plan, but that does leave kind of the question of what to put on my lower lash line, because initially I thought if it was a darker pink I could put it on the outer corner of my lower lash line and kind of create this blushing eye look, but it does seem quite frosty, so I'm just gonna go ahead and just go with my inner corner plans. Yeah, this is a very frosty shade, so definitely this qualifies as being pastel. It is like, it reminds me of that Dior bag that's currently living in my head rent-free. It was like a barely pink colored bag. It was super cute. I made the mistake of trying it on when I was in Vegas with my family. Don't do that. It's a $5,600 bag. I don't know what I was thinking. I just was like, oh, I can fantasize about owning this bag, but now I think about it all the time, even though I literally will never be able to afford one. And even if I saved up for it, by the time I have money for it, I bet it'll be discontinued or sold out or something. Like, hopefully I'll stop thinking about it eventually, maybe. Okay, it does make for a really pretty inner corner highlight, I will say that. So it is actually quite flattering. I thought it might be a little bit too ashy on me, but it looks quite cute, honestly. So I'm going to take my finger and go back into that middle blue shade, and I'm just going to make it a little bit more kind of opaque and also blend in better with that pink. Okay, so now this just begs the question, where am I gonna put the duochrome? I feel like I kind of was able to leave some empty space, but I am kind of scared of ruining the look. So I'm gonna go ahead and just work on the lower lash line really quickly, see if I can just put some shadow down there, and then we'll revisit this. Your girl needs to wash her makeup brushes. I've gone too long. I'm gonna go ahead and just take that turquoise shade and start working that on the lower lash line. I don't usually like to put shades like this on my lower lash line because they can very easily kind of combine with my olive undertones to make it look like I have a really nasty black eye. But this shade is dark enough that not super pastel mint, it's more like a light colored turquoise, so it should be fine. And as you can see, it's layering up really nicely. It's not becoming chalky, it doesn't blend away into nothing. I think I have an idea of how to use this duochrome. I'm going to try and almost do like a negative space thing with it, but like not really. So I'm gonna go up here, I'm gonna lay it down up here, and then I'm just gonna go up and over the entire look. So I'm highlighting the look, but I'm still gonna let what's below it be just the minty turquoise. And then I'm gonna blend it down. We're just creating disco ball eyes at this point. And then I just use my finger to kind of manipulate the pigment a little bit so that it doesn't look super ashy from the side. Kind of reminds me of one of the shades in the gold palette. And it's a lot more gold than blue. It actually works surprisingly well with the turquoise, I'm surprised. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and let this be my lower lash point shade. Especially because I'm curious to see how it looks on top of the turquoise, and it looks really good. I could totally see myself pulling out this mini just for this shade right here. Okay, yeah, this is a really pretty duochrome. I just don't see how it really fits into this palette per se. I know I've said that like 1,000 times already, but like, This palette doesn't necessarily feel super organized. Kind of like she just took all the pastel palette rejects and threw them in, which hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Alright, so I don't really like how I piled it on the outer portion of my eye too much on this eye, because from the side it kind of makes my eyes look dirty almost. So I'm just not going to do that as much on this eye, I think. I'll just let there be a few stray sparkles that go out that far. Yeah, I like how I kind of am still letting that turquoise shine through in the end. I thought maybe I would accidentally cover it all up, but you can actually still see it. It's really nice. And then lastly, I am going to take a little bit of that pink of the lower lash line just so that there's some continuity. And then I'm going to use my finger and just put on a little bit more. I mean, you can never have too much, right? Okay, so I have just created the ultimate festival on my eyelids. So I think all I'm missing at this point is going to be some winged liner, because that will definitely help with balancing this look. So I'm going to take some liquid eyeliner in black. My favorite is, as always, the Urban Decay Perversion. And just a little bit. I'm not gonna go too all out this time. Yeah, we'll keep it tame this time. I think as usual I got the angles of the wings wrong. Yeah, this is what happens when your eyes are two different sizes. Maybe the eyeliner was a mistake. Well, there's no going back, so I'm just gonna have to add a little bit more on this side, and this is where mistakes get made. Okay, I think that's a little bit more similar now. And then because the look is pretty light overall, I am gonna also use black on the inner corner instead of brown. You can see it has a pretty dramatic effect on my eyes. I do also like to use black to kind of draw dots on my lower lash line. It kind of like defines your lower lash line without you putting black in your waterline, or without having to draw like super dramatic fake on lower lashes. So I just draw little dots like that, and it just makes your lower lash line look more it makes your eyes look bigger. Without anything on, the eyeliner is kind of jank, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back into this palette. I think I kind of covered up the blue, which I don't like it when I do that, which is why I don't wear eyeliner with eyeshadow that often. So I'm just gonna go back in. I'm just gonna go ahead and put a little bit down here, just a little bit. I'm not connecting it, I just want a little bit down here, but I'm just gonna let it float. Okay, so before I do any mascara or lashes or anything, I do want to try out this highlighter, and then I'll finish off the rest of my makeup off camera, and then I'll pop back on. I think I'm just gonna go in with a lavender. So I'm going to use this Peiliee blush first. I'll just see what I can do with it. And because it's lavender, I'm going to put it closer to the inner part of my face. This is one of the better lavender blushes I've discovered so far, since it, you know, actually shows up on me. I'm using a Rephr 18. Don't like the bronzer I have on today, so just ignore that. It's so red. And now I'm going to do the highlighter, which looks really cute. It has like a pink, and then it has a broad section that's more minty green, and then it has kind of a more greeny green section all the way down here. So if I swirl my finger in all the shades, I get something that's kind of like a standard iridescent highlighter, but it does seem that you can like also kind of pick and choose. So I'm just gonna use my finger. It's got like that smooth formula, and I'm gonna just use my finger to tap that on. And I like really lightly swatched it with my finger, so oh, I just nicked it with my nail. I am an idiot. And then use my other clean finger to blend it out. Reminds me of Golden Mint from Becca. Yeah, I don't really feel like it's super like unique or special. It seemed like it was a smoother baked formula, but it actually does have a little bit of kickback, and it comes off pretty readily onto my finger, so yeah, we'll see. I will say, just disclaimer, I accidentally put on too much foundation because I wanted to try using a foundation with a brush today because I was too lazy to wet my sponge. So I used my foundation with a brush and I accidentally put on too much foundation, so if my complexion looks kind of cakey, it's because I goofed my foundation. But yeah, on top of my goofed up complexion, the highlighter is, to me, quite subtle actually. So I'm gonna go into a brush now. I'm just gonna use my Melody brush from Wet n Wild. I love this end for highlighter. I'm gonna go into the green end specifically because this is what I want to use the most. I'm gonna see if I can put this on the back and look more green. I don't know. I've already put on so much highlighter on my face. I'm gonna turn myself into a piece of jewelry at this rate. Okay, I'm gonna definitely do more experimentation with this highlighter because I feel like it doesn't look super different, the green versus swirling them all together. So the pink corner, I'm gonna try putting that in the front. The pink one definitely reads as pretty pink. It's almost like it's kind of pinky to goldy. Yeah, it doesn't, I feel like it's not really emphasizing my texture too much, which is a good thing. Yeah, so where I put the pink, it does read pink, but probably because I had already put on too much highlighter, I'm not seeing any like true green. Yeah, I'm swatching the green corner. It still kind of feels like golden mint to me. For now, the highlighter feels not super remarkable. The shade is definitely different. It's different for her, and it's not a super common shade, I will say that. And it does have, you know, pretty flattering finish, all things considered. I don't really have any strong feelings one way or another. I definitely don't hate it, but I'm not like, ooh, it's pretty, I love it. The 3 shade thing I thought would be more like obvious that it had 3 highlighters in one, almost like the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk one, where it's like very obviously there's 4 shades in that. Oh, it doesn't even seem like the highlighter's on Sephora. That's funny. Pastel Plexi Glow highlighter on, I'm seeing it on my phone. This little thing was $42. I don't know why I spent that kind of money on this. I don't think it's worth the money. $42 is way too much. I think this highlighter, if it had been $10 less, I would have said, oh, I like it a lot more. But $42 for this, especially when Pat McGrath's highlighters are $48, no. The packaging is cute though. I feel like an idiot. Okay, I'm gonna finish off my makeup and I'll be right back. I don't mind this look. It turned out way more low-key than I expected. I just went with a pink lip oil because my lips are really dry and I didn't want to do anything terribly intense. And I don't know, I just ended up deciding the whole makeup look can just be simple today. I think that this mini pastel palette is going to be good for somebody who wants all of these shades individually for varying purposes, but don't really expect to be able to use this to create a look on its own. I could see using the right 3 shade, left in the camera, but I could see somebody using these 3 shades to create a really beautiful analogous color scheme look. I even could have stopped there and produced something really pretty, and I will say that these 2 shades actually go surprisingly well with each other, and I'd imagine these 2 shades would go well with each other too. But to try and use all 5 of them in one look, which is what you usually can do with her minis, is kind of difficult. You kind of run out of places to place things without them mixing up and creating really weird combinations with each other. So overall, the layout of this mini is not really my favorite. Like, I think, for example, the mini gold, let's hold this up. I think the mini gold, you can use every single shade in this palette. Every single shade in this mini has a place to put, but when you compare to mini pastel, you can see this is distinctly a little bit more chaotic. So I would say maybe imagine this is more of like a companion mini, because I personally could see myself reaching into this mini just for this shade alone. And I will say every single shade in here does have really great quality. If you're all right with things being a little bit more kind of subdued and a little bit more on the smooth metallic side, these 2 are kind of your smoother shades. This is your sparklier shade and this is your very sparkly duochrome. This reminds me of a shade in the gold palette, but a little bit more gold and a little bit less blues. I'm happy with this. Okay, so I'm back really quickly. I don't have any makeup on my face besides mascara and some lip balm, so I really want to give this highlighter another try using just my bare skin so that I can get a better feel for the formula. My foundation that day was super cakey. I hadn't done a really great job of applying it, and I think I mentioned that in the video, so I want to go ahead and just add this in really quick at the end of the video. Let's give this another try. I also used it mostly with my finger, so I'm going to use mostly a brush this time, and I'm going to try and see if I can use all the different colors. So I'm just going to take the lower corner, which is green. One of my cats is playing with a piece of paper. And I'm just going to start putting this green on my face. Okay, yeah, so it's definitely more of a golden mint shade, as it's like more golden and iridescent as opposed to actually green. It's kind of disappointing, but that's alright. Okay, so on this side you can see what it looks like, and the pink and the green, it's not super big difference. It looks pretty good. I'd say if you have olive undertones like me, you might actually find the iridescence of this to be quite flattering. On my bare skin, so without all the foundation snafus, it does look pretty good. Now I do have, as you can see, I do have some minor bumps just kind of from stress probably. I have some minor bumps that the highlighter kind of sort of emphasizes, but like not more than you'd expect a highlighter to. And honestly, the emphasis of it is pretty small. So I'd say as far as highlighter goes, this is going to be one of the more smoothie ones. So it's not going to emphasize your texture very much at all. So now I'm just going to swirl the brush gently across the whole pan for this side of my face. And as you can see on my bare skin, which is of course slightly oily, the product also sticks on better, and so with this side I applied more and I can actually get a really nice gleam so that my face looks definitely super glossy, super shiny. Obviously this is not a look that you'd want to go for every single day. It's pretty intense, but there you go. You can definitely build it up, and now it kind of, from far away, it actually does look quite smooth. But again, do you see how I have this one bump right here? It is, you can see on the camera how it kind of catches it, but not extremely terribly in my opinion. So now I'm going to use my finger and I'm going to touch it to my nose. And as you can see on my nose, it is quite nice. There is no cast, so this would be great for me to use on my nose. I used a little too much, so now the tip of my nose looks big, but you get the point. I could have like a shiny chin. My chin is already shiny because it's like 10, but so that's gonna be my second take using this highlighter because I really felt I didn't give it a fair shot the first time. And now with just my bare skin, it is actually really super duper pretty and it looks actually really good. So on this side, as you can see, more subtle. On this side I really went in and I just went ham, so you can really see that you can kind of customize the finish. And on my nose it's really pretty as well. That's gonna be my demo of this highlighter take 2. It's a lot better than I thought it was, so I am really pleased with that. So I am kind of wavering on the whole it's a waste of money. I definitely don't think I wasted my money, so I am happy that I own it now. It is super duper pretty. I just still think 42 is a lot to ask for a highlighter, just generally speaking. So if you like this color, if you like this shift, then by all means go ahead and get it. But other than that, that's gonna be the highlighter demo from me, part 2. Definitely this is why it's important to use products multiple times, obviously. Okay. So that's going to wrap up my thoughts on these two. I will, of course, update any wear test problems in the description box. So in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick, cute little video, and I will be back with more content very soon. If you have any questions about anything Natasha Denona, please feel free to leave that in the comments as well. I hope you guys will join me in the next video, and goodbye!